massive show for you tonight. You can't wait for these guests. Glenn Casey from Bassman Spinnerbaits talking all things spinnerbaits, and the cod guru himself. I don't think anyone's caught more meteries than this guy, Rod McKenzie. And on top of that, all you have to do to win a prize is ask a question of one of these gurus. Get your questions in and let's win some prizes.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Let's go live.
Wax on, wax off. Whoa. Whoa. Yeah. Oops. Done it again. Oh no, here we've done it again. G'day Andrew, g'day Glenn, g'day Brendan, Jordan, we're all on. So look guys, I'm happy that you're all here tonight. I'm a little bit excited myself, but I do have to go through a couple of things before I bring the guests on. We do have Glenn Casey on tonight and we do have Rod McKenzie. So we're going to be talking all things spinnerbaits, hopefully some mumblers and cod. There's going to be some good stories tonight, and I'm really looking forward to it. Last week's show was awesome with Joe Starling. Thanks for coming on, Joe. But I do have to mention that this week we've been inundated with some more prizes and people helping out. So I'd like to thank Lake Mulwala Fish Cam and Ski. They sent me over a big box of stuff to give away. So I've got heaps of stuff there. Thank you, Tony and Vanessa. Ricky Goward, who actually won a prize last week, has donated it back. But on top of that, he's given me some of his custom lures, custom colors, and he's thrown in a couple of $50 fuel vouchers as well. We'll give them away over the next couple of weeks. Rick Doyle, a major show sponsor, with his McGrath lures, $50 Lee Martin Marine vouchers, the Dizzy scent. He's even bought me postage bags to post everything out. And this week we've got some lure wallets as well to give away, and they're supplied by Max Wicks Leatherworks. So lots on board, and I'm hoping that everyone really gets in and asks some questions to win some of these. We've got Patrick, Maddie, Anthony. Welcome everyone on. So look, I suppose these guys don't need to be introduced, but I will bring them up on the screen. We've got make sure that I undo their microphones. G'day, gentlemen.
Hey, Corey, how you going, mate?
G'day, mate. How are you?
Look, I'd just like to say cheers to both of you.
Cheers, mate.
As everyone would have seen, I have filled the fridge because I believe it's going to be a long. Where's Hobbit? All right, the questions are already coming in. He's in the middle.
Oh, that's just great. Thanks, Rodney.
Listen, guys, we've got a massive amount of stuff to cover, I suppose, tonight. It's not underrated what you guys have done for the industry. Oh, look, my son's even on. So, guys, my son's on watching, so we have to be a bit careful for the first hour before he goes to bed, all right?
Okay.
No, I'm only joking. He's heard it all before when nothing's going right, so it's all good.
Just hit mute button now, mate.
Oh, Matthew Langford wants to know how tall you actually are. Are you on a high seat or something?
Oh, that's just lovely, Matthew.
Yeah, we've got it. So I did don the old-fashioned fishing shirt for the old-timers I've got on tonight. The only problem is I've got a little bit old and I can't actually button it up. So this will probably go missing after the show at some stage. Listen, guys, thanks very much for your time tonight. We are here in the studio, and we've called it Studio 1 in Wodonga for the main reason being that we only have the one studio, and the studio audience here is ready for us. So, we're looking forward to some input from the live studio audience as well.
Oh, Jesus.
Looks fairly busy, mate.
Yeah. You should actually, if I could turn the cameras around and see the shit that's actually behind the TV monitor, you'd actually laugh at that. So we've got to make sure that we're going. Daniel Lawton's on. Fisherman Jock, g'day guys. Listen, all you got to do tonight is type your address in. We're going to do a draw for a postcode or address. Yeah, Ricky Mundy, g'day. We've got plenty of stuff to cover, plenty of cod stuff. I think I've covered all the official stuff. Glenn, let's talk Bassman spinnerbaits first. You've been doing this for a fair while now.
Yeah, just
and how long do you reckon you've been a part of Bassman now?
2002, we bought it off Robin Sattler. So nearly 18 odd years now.
Yeah. Would you ever imagine way back then that you would be exporting to the United States?
Never.
How?
Never in my wildest dreams. So, what's just happened in the last probably couple of months has been pretty cool. So, yeah.
So it's very exciting stuff to have handmade Australian spinnerbaits going out and the biggest bass pros in the world using them. Yeah, we got a bit of a stall there, I think, with Glenn.
No, that's just Glenn. He does that all the time.
He does that all the time. There we go. He's back.
Yeah, he just had a brain freeze.
We've obviously got too many people on. You just froze there, Glenn. I was starting to wonder whether you were just sitting still or we'd actually frozen. So what we'll do, Rod, is while we wait for his internet to come back online, we might bring you up and. Listen, I've been following your YouTube channel for many, many years now. And, there's so many big fish that you've caught in your time. The question will obviously come up. What's the biggest cod you've ever caught?
Mate, my biggest is 155 centimetres. That was a fair while ago. That day, I think we got 7 over a metre before 11 o'clock in the morning, all on the cast. And I don't think there was a fish under 120 centimetres. We just had one of them purple patches that probably happens to you once in your life, It was a fantastic session. Second biggest fish out of that was 146 centimetres.
Yep.
But, yeah, it's stuff like that you never forget. It's what keeps you coming back. And I guess the reason that I was lucky enough to catch as many big fish as I have over my life is I got started early. There wasn't that many people doing it when I started. There's 1,000,001 experts now, but back then it was really hard to find information on anything. You sort of had to pave your own road. There was a few early riders and stuff that I gleaned a little bit of information off. But I pretty much hit a fishery that was unhit. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't getting the pounding it is now. Like nowadays, you look at social media, a bloke catches a cod, he's straight on posting it, pretty much tells you where he caught it, what he caught it on, and then he's got 400 fishes there with him. Back then, if you wanted to read about Murray cod, you had to pick up a magazine and read an article. And, that cod might have been caught 6 months before when the river was low, and you read that article and head to the river and it's flooded, So it's a whole different ball game now compared to then,
So you started your fishing whereabouts, mate?
I started in actually, I fished all my life. I've always been a fisher. I've loved it. I grew up in a fishing family. Like every Sunday was out to the grandfathers and the grandparents for Sunday roast. All the family would get there. It's a tradition that's also been lost to the country. And then away we'd go fishing. We'd go redfin fishing or eel fishing or two-pong fishing. And I started as a kid, but cod fishing. I sort of started to hit the cod when I was in my 20s, not seriously. And then I got my first big cod, I think, when I was 32 on a lure. And it was, I think it was my second cod on a lure, and it was 86 pound. And that was just that's when it all began. I just fell in love with the fish and, haven't really looked back. I've just worked and worked and worked and thought about it and rolled it over and met some fantastic people that have helped me along my way. And I've had a great life catching giant fish,
So reasonably started late on the cod scene when you say 32. So that gives some of us hope that we might be able to catch a few meteries.
Oh, mate, that's what I say to these. Like, you go to a tackle shop and you do a talk and you see all these young blokes there haven't caught a metery and like they're 18 and 19 or 20 and they're worried about it. Like, don't worry about it. If you do everything right and you get all the right information, your right equipment, you're going to catch dozens of them. So it's just a matter of getting over the first hurdle. Once you get over the first hurdle, it's like perpetual motion. The more you learn, the more you learn. You keep going out, you learn this, you go out, you catch more fish, you learn more. It just goes round in a big circle, and you accumulate knowledge. Like, I know there's a lot of young fellas out there now that they got their chest puffed out and they just think I've caught 5 metre cod, I'm the king now, mate. At my age, and after all the fishing I do and have done, I learn every single trip. There's no trips where I don't learn something. I reckon you learn probably the most from the trips where you catch the least. You put all your stuff together, you line all your ducks up and you put them in a row and you go, well, the barometer's right, this is right, that's right. I'm going to smash them this week. And you go out and you don't smash them. And it's like, well, what happened there? She was a surefire recipe, but they're the ones you learn the most from. You start asking questions on water clarity, water temperature, flows, river up, down, barometric pressure. And like I said, you're always learning, mate. There's things surprise me every trip.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. Like, river fishing is a different beast. I'm very much a dam fisherman. Corey's dam fishing. I've done a lot of stuff in the dams, and I tend to always used to struggle when I went to the river. I never got my head around flow, and even in the bass comps with tidal changes and stuff like that. But there's I'll chuck this question up because people are going to ask questions as we go, and we'll probably answer them, but through the chats. But Mark Cook has actually written here, what's your go-to lure for meteries?
Mark, there is no one go-to lure, mate. I mean, if you're looking for a hard body that'll cover nearly every waterway in Australia, it's pretty hard to look past a stump jumper. It's been around forever. It's probably caught more big cod than most hard bodies. It's easy to use, runs straight out of the packet. Tempts big fish because it's a good size. Like I said, it's very easy to use, runs the snags well. And, it's been around it's sort of designed to suit most sections of river and lake, depth-wise. But there's other lures like your spinnerbaits. You might need a little bit more depth, so you're onto a spinnerbait. Surface lures, stump jumper and a spinnerbait's not going to do it for you on the top. So there really is no 1-2. It just depends what time of day and the way you're actually fishing. Like if I'm fishing low light, I'll go straight for a surface lure because they tempt big Murray cod really well. Once the light gets up a little bit, I'll start chucking stumpies. When the fish move down a little bit, I want to come to the surface, I'll start throwing stumpies along the timber. Once the sun gets up a little bit higher and they get a little bit deeper, I'll pick up a spinnerbait and get it down in their face. So really, there's lots of different lures. It's just up to you, the angler, to work out when it is the best metery lure.
Yeah.
What time of day.
And I've seen videos, and your YouTube channel is full of great content. And I've seen videos of you catching, good cod on the surface, which looks like it's in the middle of the day. Yeah,
mate, there's no rules on that. I do say that. People think, you can only fish them at low light periods and into the night time. There's a great... You look it up on YouTube, Brian Smith, I think it's Murray Cod Fishing Australia or something like that. He catches a 130 centimetre cod on a 40-degree day in the middle of the day in the brightest sun, tied up while he's bobbing the yabby. He just thinks, well, I'll throw this surface lure in here. And he catches it all on film. Now, the only reason this Brian Smith fella caught, he's a lovely bloke. I took him fishing about 2 months earlier, never caught a fish on a lure, and he got, we showed him how to use spinnerbaits and stuff. The only reason he caught that fish is because he didn't know that you weren't allowed to fish surface lures in the middle of the day when it was 40 degrees.
Yeah,
so, and this is the trouble. People get hemmed into these, this is the only way it works, and we all believe that, so we don't do anything different. And I've caught heaps of big cod in the middle of the day on surface lures. If you're not fishing it, how do you know?
Yeah. Oh, look, as far as in the bass scene with my background, I had a guy that used to work for me, and he wanted to know how to catch some bass, so we gave him some ice jigs. And he went out with these little ice jigs, and he'd come back and he'd caught a bag. And anyway, talking to him, he was casting the ice jigs out and rolling them back. You know, but he was casting and rolling them back. I'm not shitting you. And this is what I mean. He didn't get caught up in all of the hype and just did something and it works.
Yeah. And that's how fishing works. You can't be locked into things. Okay, like I have my own little methods that I use and they generally work, but it doesn't mean there's things that you venture outside what you're comfortable with. And I reckon that's how you catch more fish. You've got to always be trying to stretch for the next level, the next new thing. It's easy to follow stuff. It's far more fun to sort of try to look for the next level of things and do things that other people aren't doing, try things. And I mean, I've caught some pretty good cod on fly now, and I balked away from that for years because of the perception that the fly angler, very complicated stuff, like got to have patches on your elbows and smoke a pipe and drink out of a little glass. And, it's just, I looked at it and thought, gee, that's not me really. It's all too hard. But it wasn't that hard. It was just a matter of going the next yard and doing it. It's the same with anything. And so for all you young fellas out there that haven't caught a meter cod, I'll guarantee you, if you do a few things right and spend a bit of time at it and fish for big fish, you'll catch dozens of them before you're finished.
Yeah, and I agree with that totally. And just as you said, don't get caught up in all the hype. I know 2 or 3 years ago, there was a really good surface bite at Copeton for that sort of 12-month period, and guys were just going up there, and that's all they would throw. And as soon as that surface bite went away, people would go back the next trip and donut and couldn't work out why. They weren't trying other things. So
that's right. And then fish get used to it, mate. We see that every year. Fish get used to things. You'll hit a section 1 year with surface lures that's never been hit of the Murray, say, and within 1 or 2 seasons, them fish will boil under your lure. They won't hit it.
Yeah.
They'll come up, have a look, and they'll go, well, I've done this before, and they'll disappear. So it's up to you, the angler, to think, well, what do I do next? What have I got to do to get that strike?
And we've seen it with spinnerbaits too, Rod. You hit them, spinnerbaits smash a section of river and that sort of thing. Then next time you go back, you wouldn't get a touch.
And that's right. And I remember
hard body, away you go.
And I remember I fished one creek we really smashed with spinnerbaits, and we got some nice fish out of it. And I knew there were a lot of fish in this hole, and I cast a spinnerbait, couldn't get a hit, went away, come back, and I had one spinnerbait in the box with black blades, 3 casts, 3 fish.
Yeah.
I've never seen a black-bladed spinnerbait. It was just something, had all the buzz and feel and everything, but just didn't look the same.
You were definitely one that changed my view on a lot of things. I can remember many years ago going to Glen Lyon Dam and being told that, by the caretaker there to take the big cod because they get so territorial, they'll eat all the little ones. Don't be frightened to take the bigger cod. That you'll only catch one in that area. And after watching you for many years and how many big fish you'll pull out of the one snag, most people wouldn't realise that. They'll pull that one fish and they'll leave.
Yeah, no, people need to get that right. Look, I'll say it right now. Get that out of your noggin. It's rubbish. Yeah, I have caught multiple big cod on one snag. Like I think we got five over a metre off one lump in one day, just trolling back and forth over the one lump. We got busted off twice where they stole our lure. Went back to that same lump the next morning, got another big one and lost another big one. So that's 7, maybe 9 big fish on the one lump. I'd like $1 for every time I've caught 2 in 2 casts off exactly the same stick over a metre.
Definitely.
So, you sort of get that out of your head. I think probably the only time that they might become a little bit territorial is probably breeding time. And we've all seen fish that have belted themselves about or belted each other about. They've got a bit of bark off the head. You've probably seen the odd photo where 2 of them are locked together, upside down in the river having a blue. So breeding time probably a little bit different. And maybe in a small river where one big fish, is big enough to drive others from an area where it's, food's going to run short if it's not the only fish there. But other than that, gee, we've found them to be so social. They're a social fish, and I don't know where it'll come from. Sorry, Glenn.
We've seen them even school up around the bait balls and that sort of in the river.
Yeah, especially in wintertime when the pybury, they go from being spread in the river to big clouds. Like you'll see them on the centre. They're just a big cloud of bait. And there's nothing to be 4 or 5 big cod hunting that bait ball. And I've trialled through them, had double hookups. Like you'd wonder why would they hit your lure when you trial it through, 10,000 bait fish, but your lure swings a lot slower than a bait fish does.
Yeah.
So you trial 2 lures, and it's nothing to get whack 2 at once, And I've actually landed 2 metres going through a school. Several times I've been hit by 2 fish, only got the one, turned around, gone back through the school and got another one, So they're fairly tolerant of each other for sure.
So I suppose, getting onto that people need to really start to think outside the box and not just follow the crew. I agree with you totally, Glenn. We've got a question here for you from Bo. He's written, I've never seen anything in the water that looks like a spinnerbait. What do you think it makes them so attractive to bass and cod?
Well, vibration's one thing that starts with. So you got vibration, which is coming through the blades and your wire as well. So that's what's causing the fish, their lateral lines, all that sort of thing, which hones them in onto your spinnerbait. And I think the last thing they actually see is the colour. Yep. So I think my personal opinion is vibration is key to start with. Then colour is definitely secondary.
So with let's dig into that a little bit deeper. When you're fishing the rivers, now we wanted to talk a little bit more about river cod tonight. So when you're fishing the rivers, what's your suggestion? Because I know everyone's got a different view on blades. What blades on your spinnerbaits should you be running in that flowing water?
Well, depends. Well, there's some rivers that don't flow too much. If they're not flowing too much, I'd be fishing Colorados. That way you can work them slow, you can control them, put them in front of the fish for a longer period of time. If they're starting to get a bit of flow, then you start to jump back to your willow blade setup so you can actually control the spinnerbait, and it can cut through the water column and also the current and hold depth.
Yeah, so for everyone that's out there, I mean, there's a million different spinnerbaits, I suppose, on the market.
Yep.
And I've been using yours for a long time now, and I was lucky enough to go and sit in your factory and watch you make a few and listen to you talk about spinnerbaits. So I don't think there's too many people in the world that really put as much time and effort into spinnerbaits as what you do. I know there's a lot of guys out there that can just rip a spinnerbait together, put a plastic on a jig head and put a blade on it. But you put a lot of testing into the wire and the way that you make the spinnerbaits, don't you?
Definitely. Just for an example, where have I got it? This is just one example. This is not cod, but if you can see that there, that's the one there. We done up for Carl in the US, okay, for the boys that's going over there. What we actually had to do is the original one was the normal TW, okay, which is that one. Now, that wire wasn't cutting the mustard over there. Like it was the actual wire itself was too high a tensile. So because they're not allowed to use a landing net in their comps, the wire would break after about a dozen fish just because of the way they pole them in. Okay, which we don't have to here. We can use a landing net, get them in the drink. So I had to get a wire that would handle opening and closing all the time. It couldn't be titanium because that had been a patented system. So I went to the guy who does our wires, and he started sending me wires that were tempered differently. And we went through about 6 different wire tempers till we got the one that we wanted. So that had vibration, plus durability for the purpose we're chasing for those guys.
So that's just one example. You get several different spinnerbaits on your repertoire, or from what you sell.
Yes.
How much does the actual wire make a difference to the vibration?
So it makes everything. The actual whole basis of a spinnerbait is around the wire. The wire is your first initial point. Then comes head weight, hook, and blade. And the blades in correlation to wire diameter mean everything as well. So there's only a certain section of blades you can use on a certain wire diameter to get the best vibration out of that wire.
Yeah. So basically, if you've got your spinnerbait, you're saying if you put too big a blade on a style of spinnerbait, you're actually not benefiting that spinnerbait anymore.
No, and you can use fencing wire and put a Colorado blade on it the size of a 20-cent piece, and it's not doing anything. It's just everything works in correlation with everything. There is a limit to where you can go.
There is so much more for the spinnerbaits than I ever knew until I went and seen you, and just blew me away. Now, we did have this discussion the other day off air. You've been involved with Bassman for nearly 20 years.
Yep.
You've developed a whole new style of fishing within Australia for several different species, and really I've caught spinnerbaits. I've caught nearly every fish I've tried to target, and it's true with what Bo was saying. I have no idea what they actually imitate, but they do work. I've got a little story here. Last year I was fishing up at Copeton, and my favourite mumbler, which is this one here.
Yes.
You'll see on the end there that it's got a little black piece.
Yeah.
I was lucky enough to get that mumbler back after catching a cod, and the skirt ripping off all over the deck of my boat. And I kindly sat there and picked up every little piece of string that I could find. And then I was thinking, how can I reattach this out in the middle of nowhere, because I needed to do it. And I whacked a cable tie on it.
Yes.
And I had a lot of people laugh at me. What's your thought on the old little cable tie to get you through?
Mate, they can laugh as much as they want. You got your skirt on your spinnerbait, on your mumbler, and can keep going. Now, what I'll mention to you about that is that the actual hang on there. The plastic actually reacts with the latex collar on the skirt. That's just what they do over time. So I'm doing myself out of money here selling replacements.
He froze again, Corey.
Yeah, no, it looks like it.
He does it different too.
That's definitely the downside of live streaming. So
that's the best way.
Yeah,
another go.
Excellent. Thanks for that, Glenn. Good on you, mate. I've got a question here from. We've got so many questions. It's hard to keep track of them all. Glenn will come back here in a minute.
He's working on it.
Yeah,
he's like that up the river, mate. After he has 4 or 5 beers around the fire. Here he comes.
You're back there, Glenn. Yeah. No, not quite. All right. So I've got a question for you, Rod. He's in and out. He's in and out. We'll just go to Rod for this one. How long will you keep throwing at a good snag if you're not getting bites?
Yeah, look, that's a great question. Who's that come from? That's Luke. Look, mate, I've had blokes say, I had 200 casts at that snag to catch that big fish. There is no way I would catch that big fish if I had to have 200 casts. So I sort of look at it, fishing for big cod. I'll find the strike comes generally within the first 3 casts, most of the time on the first or second cast, if they're up and ready to go. So I sort of liken it to knocking at doors, Luke. If you're home, you hear a knock at the door. If you want to answer it, you answer it straight away. If you don't want to answer it, you think, oh God, it's the bloody Jehovah's or whatever. You just ignore it, and that's the way they operate too. They knock on a lot of doors to get a few open. So when I'm looking for cod, I cover ground pretty quick. I'll cast all the key spots on a single snag. Like I put 3 in that gap three in that gap, and there's usually two of yous. So usually being followed by somebody else, or and I'll continually move, just knocking on doors looking for active fish. The 200 cast, because you think there's a fish there. Just imagine if there's not. You've wasted a lot of time, haven't you?
Yeah.
And 200 cast takes a long time. You might only cast 5 or 6 snags for the day, and then you're finished. And if there's no fish on them 5 or 6 snags, you've wasted a lot of time, So maybe if you get belted by a big one and you think, oh, that was a good fish, give it a bit of a hammer and then maybe. And if that doesn't work, come back a little bit later on when he's repositioned himself in the snag and ready to go again.
And cod aren't sort of that bad. You can actually lay hooks into a cod and it'll still come back and bite later on, won't it?
Oh, most certainly, mate. I've had them in, I remember one big fish in South Australia. I hooked it 4 times on a spinnerbait. I didn't hook it, but it took drag under heavy setting 4 times on a spinnerbait and managed to spin it each time. And I had a big hard body tied on a rod, and I just thought, I'll biff this out, because I had a couple more casts with a spinnerbait and I wouldn't take it. Threw the hard body out, cranked it through, and it slammed it and got hooked up, and it was about 80 pounds. So the first 4 strikes, rip and drag under a heavy set, and didn't seem to stop it. But that fish, like I said, I was a bit lucky back then to be hitting fish that a lot of people had hit. Nowadays, I think a big fish hits something, feels a bit of drag or a bit of a prick in the mouth, and goes, oh, yeah, no, I've been there, done that, I'm not doing that again. And it's very hard to tempt them a second time, So
excellent. Well, that leads on to the next question, which was my first guest, Matty Langford's asked, what's your favourite location for consistently big fish?
Places where other people aren't fishing. Matty, mate, I've got lots of spots that I like to go. And sometimes, here he is, he's back.
I had to put down the bottle.
No, I got lots of spots I like to go, mate. And this is the thing of cod fishing. Sometimes places take years to open up and close just as quickly. Like I was saying to Cora the other day, where we got that 7 cod over a metre before 11 o'clock in the morning on the cast, we left at lunchtime because we thought we'd been fishing that area every week for 12 months, caught metre fish every time we went there, and we thought it was going to be there forever. And we left that day and didn't get back there for 6 or 7 years because the river flooded, everything changed, and it was gone for us for 7 years. The beauty of being my age, other than the fact that you're getting old, is that we get to accumulate a bit of knowledge on all these little spots, and you might have 10 or a dozen, and it may be years before you can get back to them. So, Matty, the best spots are the ones that are fishing good at the time, and the ones you can remember that are coming again.
Was that Langers?
Yes, that was Langers.
Mate, he's sitting on the hottest cod spot in Australia, and the bastard doesn't even know it.
Where's he at?
I can't tell you on air, but I'll tell you off air.
Of course you can. Everyone else does, mate.
Yeah. Hey, listen, I think it's about time for a bit. We told him we'd entertain him a little bit.
I think you did ask me to do a real weirdo spinnerbait.
Look at this. So
that's it, mate.
That's it. So that is going to be a prize tonight, everyone. So there's a 4x4, isn't it, by the looks of that?
Yeah, 4x4. It probably goes to the gayest question.
Yeah.
I've actually woke up next to something looking like that after a big night on the grog. I don't remember eating that pizza.
So I did ask Glenn to do up the weirdest spinnerbait he could do up for a prize tonight. So if you want to win that spinnerbait, please jump on and write a comment about that spinnerbait for us. Maybe we can name it tonight. So let's come up with some names for that spinnerbait for tonight's show. It's a one-off, one of a kind. If you're a lure collector, get on there and do that. Glenn, I want to get back because we were talking some funny stories, and it's after 8:30 at night, so we can probably let fly with a couple of the better ones for now. We'll leave the stories around the campfire, but you and Rod have spent a lot of time together designing and talking about and basically just talking crap around the fire and whatnot.
Yeah, a whole lot of shit.
Tell me, this lure here is called a mumbler.
Yeah.
Right? Tell us how you come up with the name of that lure.
Yeah, you can do that, Glenn.
I can do that. All right. Oh, crap. Okay. Now, it come up probably must have been about 2005, and we're actually at the Lake Mulwala Cod Classic down there, the Cod Opening Classic down at Mulwala. So there was about 5 or 6 of us sitting around a picnic table, and the boys were hassling me about doing a chatterbait. And I said, no, it's already been done. We're not doing it, and that sort of thing. And they just kept on me. And I said, well, if we're going to do it, we're going to try and do it to catch the cod and that we were chasing. So anyway, we actually cut up a spinnerbait there and then together. We give it a cast. It all worked. That was where it started from. Then we said, well, we can't call it a chatterbait because that was an actual brand name, which is owned by Z-Man. Back then it was Rad Lures. But so we said, well, we've got to come up with a new name. What will we call it? Lo and behold, just as with that conversation finished, this young lady walked past us wearing a real tight pair of bike pants. From then on, it was always called the mumbler.
So,
true story. I don't care whether people believe it or not. But
Well, I was there. I was saying that it was true.
all right. So we've worked out that you've got some weird ways to name your lures.
no, I've got some really weird mates. That's
Is that what it is? Look, there's another one there that is called a TW. How'd you come
no,
about?
we'll leave that one alone.
Well, we'll just call that humbly the through weight.
Yeah. Some people want to say that, but yeah.
And we've got Fisherman Jocks reckons that we should call the spinnerbait the gay Barty grub. We've got another one here from Dale Boyd's calling it the Priscilla. Patrick Bailey's on there. He's called it the Corona.
It's not quite Corona yet.
Not quite, but you've got your own series of those lures going out. So we won't name it anything to do with the current circumstances. So,
I like this question, Dale Sinclair. Is it true that Glenn wanted to be a jockey, but he was too short? Is that true, Glenn?
Dale, you will have your moment.
yeah, I've got to say that's the second time Dale's paid out on you tonight. I'm sure he will get some in return.
Dale, keep coming on, mate. It's great.
The Bo's written, forgot the pizza sauce. Daniel's written the LGBT. And Joshy Usher's written the Queen of the River. So,
the Queen of the River.
yeah, we'll keep them coming. We'll see how we go with the names of those. They're pretty cool. We might do a competition one day where we'll name a new spinnerbait for you, Glenn.
The Tick.
The Tick.
We had a tick the other night, mate.
Yeah, but it only catches the arsehole fish. So, if anyone doesn't know what we're going on there, well, you have to go back 2 episodes and watch Boothie and hear the Tick story. So you can get on that through my YouTube channel and watch the full episode of that. Listen, my son is out there listening, and he's been begging me to win him a prize. So I'm going to put his question up here just to make him feel better. So Harrison's asked you, this is my son, if you had to recommend a place to fish, where would it be?
At the back of Rod's boat.
That's the best.
There you go.
Yeah.
Simple as.
All right, Harrison. So you're inside actually watching this live, and
Harrison, there you go. You get a.
There you go. Look at that, mate. You've got a spinnerbait from Glenn and a good colour too. So
and down the track, Harrison, you might get the fish out of the back of Rod's boat with Glenn.
yeah, that's it. Excellent. Excellent. So let's go back on. It's the Green Goblin, the Gay Mardi Gras.
The Brokeback Mountain colour. I like that.
There's a few coming through. Stop. Stephen Beast put on there, stop that. So he doesn't want us to keep doing it. And my son's told me off for swearing. There we go. The awesome. So we'll get back in. I'll find some few more questions. But Glenn, let's get back now that you're online and it's working a little bit. We'll get back to you actually getting those spinnerbaits overseas. you'd have to be one of the first Australian manufacturers to get spinnerbaits overseas.
It's
He just doesn't want to answer this question.
Reason, mate, doesn't he? He's got one of them. He's
far as know about the other.
That's why I got the two of you on, because I knew one of you would be right.
Mate, I might go out again.
Yeah, you go out again. Peter Wright, we got that question. We got that question before, so you'll watch that again. Yeah, Jordan Stoddard's written, how convenient Glenn drops out when he's telling you how to save money on fixing your skirts. All right, so this is a good question. Jackson North, he's asked a few questions throughout the last couple of shows. I'll whack that up there for you, Rod. And it is, with dam fishing, what's the first thing you look for before you cast?
Mate, you nearly have to ask Corey that. I don't fish in dams, buddy. I've been to a couple. I guess for dam fishermen that go to the river, it's a bit like me going to the dam. I find it quite daunting on where to go and what to look for, because there's just one big body of water. I know you got bays. They all look the same to me. So generally I look for same sort of stuff I look for in the river. I look for points, timber, weed beds, and bait. I think probably one of the most important things in the dam is bait. I think from what I've seen of Blowering and places like that, I think the fish are quite pelagic. They seem to follow the bait around. They've certainly got hidey holes. There's no doubt that there's a lot of them behind boulders and under logs and all that. But I think when they come out for a chew, they don't tend to sit round in the one spot. I think they move about a fair bit. So once again, if you find fish, you're probably going to find more than one fish. So I tend to fish an area or a bank that you consistently produces fish, or you've had hits on before. But I think bait's probably one of the most important things. I'm sure that blokes like Joshy Usher and some of these the skiers boys and some of them fellas that fish these impoundments could probably have a lot more light on it than what I would have. But yeah. I think cod are cod, and it's pretty similar sort of stuff.
I think in the lure ranges and everything else, I know the flowing water we'll probably talk about later on, which side of the logs and stumps you cast. With dam fishing, you can cast either side, but I think bait is the key. Use your electronics, find that bait. That's the key. My whale is a different beast because you've got to look for flow. But when you're talking Blowering or Copeton or dams like that, yeah, definitely just you find the bait, you'll find the fish. That you do have resident cod like everywhere else that will stick on that boulder, like you said, but most of them will go out at a particular time and they will go out and feed and they'll just munch on that bait. So find the bait would be my answer to that question, Jackson. So it sounds like in the background there we might have...
Can't see him, mate. I can't. He's lost.
Here we go. You back on?
Oh, God. I'm glad you're up that end of your body.
I tell you what, you must have a lot of people in Lismore, Glenn, on the internet at the moment.
Now he sounds like he looks.
I actually have not done anything to your volume there. That is a classic. You actually sound like a little jockey. Try that again. I couldn't have planned that any better. Glenn, I'll get you to just drop off and come back on again for us. We've got a couple more names for the lure. The Tiger King. Oh, that's obviously the new show. The Green Goblin. What else we got? Calissa, we don't talk about other people's shows, although the ABT show is pretty good. We won't talk about other online shows because they won't talk about mine. The spinnerbaits look like something. There we go.
The foxtail butt plug.
The gay banana bait. The filthy ore. He's still there trying to hook in. The Brokeback Mountain, yeah, we've got him. The burnt custard, the Murray cyclists. Jesus, I'm going to have some fun. There was a question I want to find earlier on, but it was about trolling. And this is a topic that I did hope that somebody wanted to bring up tonight, because we do get caught up in this whole big social media thing and the whole look, I personally believe it's much more exciting to catch a fish on the cast, but to cover water and sometimes with cod and river cod, you do just have to get out there and troll, don't you, Rod?
Yeah, certainly. Look, I love casting. It's there's no denying it's the best way to catch them. You're on the surface. I've got probably surface, fly, and hard bodies or spinnerbaits on the cast are always the best ways to get it. But the best thing about going cod fishing is catching fish. And if them things aren't working, there's no better method than trolling, mate. And when it's done properly, it is absolutely brilliant. If you present your lure to so many fish, you cover so much ground, and I sort of liken it to a bit like going to a party when the fish aren't on. You've got to present your lure to as many fish as you can. It's a bit like going to a party where there's 100 people. You go to a party where there's 100 people, someone will stuff up. It's the same when you're fishing for cod when they're not on. You put your lure past 100 cod, one of them will stuff up every time. And I've had plenty of sessions on the Murray where you just, you'll go for a day cast and not get a strike and think, right, that's it, we're going trolling. And you'll pick up 3 or 4 big fish on the trawl. They're in places you would never cast. They're a third of the way out in the river in 7 meters of water. You're never gonna get at them on the cast, or even think to get at them on the cast. You know what I mean? So them fish are always there, and they are lost to people that are locked into the so-called, I don't know, the big thing that it is casting. If you troll, it's not really fishing. Well, gee, I just think, however you catch them, so long as it's in the legal realms, I think it's about catching the fish. And the more sticks you got in your buggy, like golf, the more things you can do, and the more likely you are to achieve a good outcome on every trip. So I'm happy to troll. I love it. Even though I like to cast them. If that's not happening, I'm not going to be stupid and just cast away all day for nothing. I will find a way to catch the fish.
Yeah, Joe Starling last week was, the question was asked, where does she like to fish? And she said, anywhere that I can catch a fish. And somebody asked what style of fishing she likes best. She said, whatever catches me a fish. And I agree with that totally.
Yeah, same here, mate. Like, we spend a lot of dollars to get out there. If you want to be pig-headed and cast for 3 days, not get hit because everyone casts and it's the only way to catch them, so be it. You slot yourself into that. I will do what works, be it surface, fly, spinnerbait, hard body, trolling, casting, jigging, even bait fishing. I don't go past bait fishing, it's.
No, my son and I quite often bait fish. He loves it because we can just get on the bank and, he doesn't get claustrophobic in the boat and loves to go out bait fishing. Yeah. I won't throw that by the side. I know that when I come back down to Victoria from Queensland after a 20-year spell of up there fishing for bass and casting lures and whatnot, I was stuck in that mind frame, and everyone up there was, you don't troll, you don't troll, you don't troll. And it was a cod classic 2 years ago. I was sitting there casting a bank and I'd worked for 5 hours for not even a bite. And I watched this little $500 tinny with an old Mariner motor that was coughing and spluttering and carrying on, and he trolled past me and caught 5 cod. And it's like, okay, I'm going to start trolling now.
Yeah, well, he's fishing 40 or not fishing. Like, it's great when the fish are up, or close to the bank and they're sitting up fairly high or within reason. But seriously, try to cast 7 meters of water that's 30 meters off the bank where you're targeting. You can't see anything other than on the sounder. It's very, very difficult. Your lure spends minimal time in the zone. So therefore trolling is the perfect, technique to do it.
Now, I can't find the question that was earlier on. I'll go back, and because we've had so many questions, I'll try and get a list of these questions to you guys, and then I'll send answers out to all the good questions. But it was about trolling, and it was about how far should you let the lure go back behind your boat?
Well, that'll depend on water depth. I like to have it back a good cast because it gives you time. You'll feel if there's any sticks between you and the lure, you'll feel the lure start to speed up as it comes close, as it climbs up over a log. So it'll get faster, faster, faster until once you get the feel of that, you can actually just about touch the log, drop the rod tip back, float it over and pull it down the other side without hitting the log. And it takes a long time to get to that level. But if you've got your lure too short, the first thing you find is the log.
Yep.
And if it's only, so I sort of work on depth. If I'm in 7 meters of water, I'll choose a lure that runs around 7 meters. And depending on clarity, if it's a little bit not great clarity, I'll run it probably a metre off the bottom because you're down where the structure is and you're sort of close to the fish. If it's a bit clearer, I'll run it 1.5 metres to 2 metres because it opens up the fish's field of vision.
Yep.
Because they can see up and out both sides. You get it up off the bottom a bit, you open up the vision, like turning a sounder upside down. The deeper, the wider the lens. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So it's things like that. So there's no, look, a good cast. If you cast out a good cast and you're ploughing the bottom, wind it in and put something on that suits that depth. It's the same. It's the same with lure colour. I think the best lure colour is the one that gets them close to the fish, the one that gets near the hungry fish. You know, it doesn't matter what colour it is if you present it at the wrong depth.
Yep.
Get it to the right depth first, then get your colour right. Just like Glenn was saying before, pretty much colour's the last thing he thinks about. The blades, the hook, the head weight, all of that sort of stuff. Then your colour.
Yeah, we get it properly.
Yeah. Any tips for trolling spinnerbaits, Glenn?
Yeah, throw it out, crack open the can, and away you go.
Put it in the holder.
Do you?
No, you got to hold on to it.
You got to hold on to the rod, though, don't you? That's probably a big thing you were talking about before, Glenn. That Rod, that people might not realise that how important it is, even when you're trolling, to have that rod in your hand. As you said, you can feel it speed up when that line's cutting over the log before you actually get there, and you can wave it back. Putting them in the rod holders is not giving you the best chance of catching fish.
No, it's not the greatest way to do it, mate. The bottom of a river and snag piles and stuff, the bottom's always changing. It might be 5 metres deep, 8 metres deep, 6 metres, 10 metres. You always got to let line out, pull line in. You're always trying to swim at that metre or so, 1.5 metres off the bottom, bouncing off the odd snag. And like we said before, when you find a bit of a patch where there's some good structure and you believe there's fish there, hammer it.
Just keep trolling over it. Yeah.
5 or 6 times, hammer it.
Yeah.
And if you really feel in your gut that you should have got belted, come back later in the day and do it again.
I found for a tip for trolling in dams, I know we're talking about rivers, but don't necessarily always troll straight. We found that when you're trolling and you've got a rod out each side, one person's got one there, trolling on the angles makes those lures work a little bit quicker and slower around those logs as well.
For sure, trout fishers do that a lot. Like sometimes when you turn the boat, one lure will actually sink. It'll sink down a bit more, especially in trout lures. And when they speed up, they get hit. And they keep finding on the turn that they're getting hit on specific lures. So them little details, I know I'm talking trout there, but it goes across all fishing. Everything changes. Your lure speed and even your depth. If a lure slows, it lifts in the water column.
We found it Copeton a couple of years ago when that big surface bite was on, being casters that we were at the time, and I'd written off trolling altogether. We had a couple of young boys up at Copeton told us to put the dog turd out, and we were like, what's a dog turd? and they just put a big snake out the back of the boat, put that rod in the rod holder, and we would just keep casting along the bank, and every time you touch the electric, you go forward, and that little snake would go clack, 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 and then it'd stop. And when it had stopped, we caught so many cod on that pause lure at the back of the boat. The funniest thing was at -4 degrees with 3 big boys in the boat, whoever got to the rod first caught the fish. And in a bass boat, there's not a lot of room when you're tripping out the side of the boat. So it was a bit of a challenge to get to that rod. Now, I've got a question here from one of the guys that nearly pushed me out of the boat. So Mick Johnson has written here a question for you, Rod. Do you think that staying stealth in the river, or do you think the noise doesn't worry them?
No. The sound is so important. Look, it mightn't be so bad when fish are getting hit hard, before fish get hit hard and stuff like that. But I was saying to Cora the other day, we fished the Darling River for a lot of years, right down to the point where it got to a few years or last year. There was a lot of people fishing it once they worked out the fish were up there in the holes. They were going fishing. And no rubbish, if you shut your car door at some of them holes, if you got out and shut your car door, as most blokes going fishing wouldn't even think about that, you might as well have got back in your car and drove off, because once you shut that door, you weren't catching a fish. They had heard so many cars pull up. They'd heard so many lures. They'd been hit that hard. We used to pull up a couple of 100 yards from the hole, sneak out, leave the doors of the car open, sneak over the bank. Most of them holes, you poke your head over the bank and you might see 2 or 3 big cod just cruising around under the surface. Within 30 seconds or a minute of you being there, you wouldn't see them fish. Somehow they knew you were there.
Yeah.
You know, like the odds of popping your head over and go, well, there's one, there's another one, there's another one. 3 big fish. And then you could sit there they'd all disappear, and you sit there for an hour, you wouldn't see them again. You know, they are so switched on to things once they get the hang of it that, stealth's really important, I reckon. These blokes that roll around in boats and, 100 mile an hour here and 100 mile. I've never seen a cod swim the same speed as a 200 horsepower motor, even a 70 horsepower motor for that matter. Like they don't swim that fast. I think if I was going to a comp and I seen some fella trundle out there in a tinny with an electric on the back, I'd be shitting myself. He's the bloke that's going to catch the fish.
Yeah.
He's the bloke that's going to catch the fish.
You can't roar up to a snag in those places and expect to catch that fish on the snag.
Yeah.
You just can't do it.
And the other thing about me, well, I always caught more fish when I fish by myself.
Yep.
There's probably a couple of reasons for that, because you can bullshit. You can just say, I got 10 and dropped 6, I got 10 and dropped 6. No, but you're not talking. All you're doing, the only noises you hear is the reel, the lure hitting the water, and you whining, and that's it. You're going along the river very quietly, cast. There's no noise. I had a mate, I've got a mate that actually put a camera down on a cod nest. He put a GoPro down on a cod nest in Blowering Dam. And he left it there because he's seen a big cod cruising around this nest. He thought, I'll put this down, I'll make some good footage. And this is Ray Clifford. He's a pretty handy fisherman. And he trundled off 50 yards away just for a while, so the cod would come back to the camera and just cruise around and do what it does. And while he was away, he was talking to these 2 old fishermen. They were there, and they had a yarn, and he went back and he picked up his GoPro and he went and did some other stuff and went home. And then when he downloaded his footage, you could hear this noise in the background of his footage, and he couldn't work out what it was. And he worked out it was the conversation he was having with the 2 old blokes. Now, that's off a GoPro under the water in a couple of meters of water 50 yards away. So sound actually conducts through water better than it does in the air. I think it travels 3 or 4 times as fast.
Yeah. So and those bigger fish, an old fish. So they've been around for a while. Mate, they're pretty cluey.
Well, they're in tune to what they do. If they're not smart about what they do, they starve to death. They can't go to the supermarket for their tucker. They've got to be stealth. They've got to be smart. They've got to understand every single thing about their environment. They've got to know when rises are coming, floods, barometric pressure, hatches of animals like barley grubs, ducks, ducklings hatch. They work it all out. It's might be a 40, 50-year thing that they learn. And then you come out there with your big boat and your clankety things and dropping stuff all over the floor and giggling your frackle off and bouncing your lures off trees and rocks. And you think, well, yeah, they're only fish, well, they...
I've now just worked out why my brother's never caught a meatery, because those boys are pretty noisy. So listen, you're going to have to be gentlemen here, because Calissa has been on and watched every show. She's a good supporter of the show, and she wants to get your boys' opinion. How do you feel about a beginner woman driving boats and fishing?
Go for it.
Yeah, certainly.
Better. And I can actually say that she'd probably outfish more fellas than anything, because they actually listen.
And they have attention to detail, mate. You see the way they paint their fingernails and stuff, and it really takes, like, imagine us painting their fingernails.
Oh, yeah.
Paint us, whop, whop, whop.
Yeah, I've seen you before.
It'd be all the way up to the knuckle, yeah.
Put the hand in, that's it.
Yeah.
I love seeing lady anglers. And there's no reason you can't drive a boat the same as a bloke, and there's no reason you can't catch just as many fish as a bloke.
Look, I've got so many mates that when we went out and, the missus has come along, they always outfished us, I can tell you that.
Yeah, they just got something about them. Like Rod said, attention to detail. But one thing I have noticed is they do listen.
Yeah,
you'll get a fella that'll ask you a question about something, and you can see that it's just going straight over his head.
And he generally gives you the answer too, Glenn. It'll be like, Glenn, what do you think about this? Well, I think, Glenn, it doesn't wait for the answer. They want to tell you what they think. So, girls don't seem to be like that.
No, women will listen to you and go and do it. And then, then it's fun and games between the woman and the husband.
We got another trolling question here from Jordan. Jordan's written, it's quite a long one. So if you're trolling a spinnerbait, how do you figure out what depth the spinnerbait's running at? And do the blades make a difference?
Yeah, they do. Blades always make a difference. The size of them, and also the shape of the blade. Like a Colorado catches a lot of water, so it'll get a lot of lift. Willow blade doesn't catch as much water, so it'll actually trawl a lot deeper. Best way to go is probably very similar to like trawling the hard bodies. Let it out, kick it into the trawling speed that you want, and then you can actually start to feel it bashing against the bottom and then wind it up a metre or so.
Yep. Excellent. So I'm going to look for some more questions here. We're going to go back and go for a third time, Glenn, and talk about spinnerbaits.
I'm sorry, mate. I get a bit nervous. And the pub calls.
The comments actually come up that every time we've talked about fixing a spinnerbait or not repairing a spinnerbait on the cheap, that your actually internet drops out. We're just wondering if you're unplugging it at the back, are you?
Yeah, I am. Now, when we dropped out before, we were talking about plastics and busting skirt collars, that sort of thing. Now, one thing I did want to mention about the plastic that actually makes your soft plastic trailer does interact with the latex collar on the actual skirt, so it will eat it over time. That way, if you put a zippy tie on it, right, that's going to save it shitloads. But there is one plastic. There's a fair few of them out there. The real stretchy ones, okay, that stuff will, if you leave it in your box with all your other spinnerbaits, it will turn everything to snot. If you use the stretchy plastic, make sure it's kept by themselves. That's the only way they're going to save everything. Because I was using these sorts of plastics years ago, and I had to replace a couple of tackle boxes full of spinnerbaits just because they turned everything to snot. So just be wary of that. You can use them. They are very durable, but you got to keep them separate. If you don't, you just end up with a whole heap of snot in the bottom of your box.
Yeah, I lost a few Mars vibes doing that over the time.
Yeah, exactly. And they're too dear for that.
Yeah. That's right. Looking for another question. There we go. Fisherman Jock. We'll put this one up. Hey, Rod, or Codmac, as you know, and how do you tackle a snag in fast-flowing water, e.g. around Cobram?
Okay.
Oh.
Fisherman Jock, I do a little bit of fishing around Cobram. Mate, I fish it pretty much the same as I fish anywhere else. I start at the top, I fish the ends, and I go around the bottom. A lot of my work up that way is about this time of the year when we're not in lockdown. I'm really chafing at the bit at the moment to get on the water because this is one of the best times of the year to target cod on surface lures. And I love fishing that water, that fast flowing water. And most of the fish, you might think they would come in the back pockets where it's calm. They never do. They come right out in the current, in the flow, off the end tips of the branches. Sometimes there'll be a snag. So you're going down, you cast the bank, and you look over your shoulder, and there's a bit of a snag in the middle of the river. I really guarantee if you whack a surface lure past that at the right time, you'll get smashed. So Yeah, it's just fish it the same as you would any sort of water, mate. But I find in that fast flowing water, most of the fish come off the ends of the branches, right on the ends of the snags, not in the back pockets of water where you expect them to be. In fact, I don't think I've caught a big fish out of there. So, yeah, just keep that in mind.
Excellent. Now, listen, we've got I've got a photo here that I'm going to bring up on the screen. I'll let you guys talk about because I'm going to go back. We've got so many questions. I'm not used to actually because I actually run the computer and talk on the show. I'm finding it hard to keep up to the questions. We've got so many funny names coming in. We've got some really good questions. So I'll just bring this photo up, Rod, and you sent me this one today. And I will get rid of myself off the screen.
Oh no!
Yeah, no, this was mate. This was we went on a little tour with Boothie, and we went and did a few shop talks up around Orange and Bathurst and a few other places, Dubbo, and
I hate you.
I've met 4 or 5 of Glenn. I know Glenn's got 4 or 5 brothers, and I've met a couple of them. Anyway, we got up to this Orange, and he goes, "I know that bloke over there," and I thought, "I reckon that's one of your brothers, Glenn." Anyway, he got a bit closer, and I think if you could blow that photo up, if you shaved that beard off that fella, that's Howie's his name. He wouldn't only be Glenn's brother; he'd probably be his twin. But anyway, I later found out they're not really related. Howie's just a very keen cod angler that loves Glenn's tackle, and he happened to win the raffle.
Great fish.
And he happened to win the Venom rod that night. So, Howie, big shout out to you from Glenn, one of your favourite lure makers. And I hope you were catching a few fish on that Venom rod, mate. Venom rod, best rod ever.
Great fish.
So
now this is a Gia. I am definitely going to get that cup and that shirt and get it printed.
Mate,
I had nothing to do with that, Glenn.
Oh boy, Boothie, you're gone.
Oh, mate.
And Banksy, don't even bother calling me.
Not existing. I just keep going. Look, we've had some really good. Listen, guys, I'm still reading these questions. Tell us a story. Tell us a couple of cod stories.
What sort of stories do you want, mate?
Good story. Well, I'll tell you something. Just from a sponsor's point of view, dealing with someone like Rod. Okay. Now, if Rod can't break it, it's good enough for anybody else, because I can tell you, I've seen how hard he is on gear, and I've been in his boat. And you try and walk around his boat without getting a lure in you or stepping on a fishing rod. It's like someone's just a game of pick up sticks. There is rods left, right, and centre all over the boat. Lures with bloody huge big trebles everywhere. It's just amazing. So if you can make a lure or a fishing rod, which the boys of Venom probably have done.
They have, mate.
Yeah, that haven't broken and that sort of thing. Mate, it's just, yeah, that's what a sponsor's looking for. People to tear their gear apart.
Mate, my boat looks like that because I don't have time to tidy up. I'm too busy fishing. I've been out with blokes that pull the lure out of the box and then they unwrap the bubbly wrap around from it and give it a and a bit of a polish and fish it and then bring it back in, put the bubbly wrap back on it and put it back in the exact shelf it has to. It takes them 25 minutes to get it out and put it on. It takes another 25 minutes. Meanwhile, you've caught 2 big cod while they're doing it. So I sort of just drop things and use things.
I probably had that problem when I was about 18 and 19 in the nightclub, Rod.
Yeah.
What, that? What were you polishing, Corey?
Yeah, we'll leave that one alone. We'll get into a question straight away. I led myself into that one. Jordan's asked, have you had much luck using jigs on cod? So we're talking football jigs.
No, Jordan, we haven't. Shush, and that's a secret.
So we'll get rid of that question straight away, Jordan. If you get the hint on that one, you'll know that.
Yeah.
And Pip's written here, how much drag should I set on my reel?
Oh, Jesus. Pip should know the answer to this.
Pip knows, he's been with us a few. We set a heavy drag. It especially, you know, when a fish strikes a lure, you don't want it taking cord off you because it's not setting the hook. I liken it to walking up to, imagine loading an apple at a table with a big heap of trebles, and I was to pick it up and walk off with it, and the drag was light, I'll walk off with it. I'll take that apple.
Yep.
But if I grab it and turn around and go to walk off, and it's a fairly heavy drag, a fair chance I'm going to get a handful of trebles. So you don't have it too heavy, so as you pull all the hooks out, I'll bend them, but you have it heavy enough so when they belt it, it drives the hooks into them. It's set. I sort of, when I'm trolling or casting, it's set in fighting mode all the time.
Yeah.
Especially when you like trolling, there's so many benefits to it. It sets the hooks. It lifts the fish off the bottom. When you're trolling, the momentum of the boat's going forward. You get smacked by a big fish. It starts stripping cord, which they do. Doesn't matter. If you've got it set heavy, they'll still get it off there. Once it starts going, it comes off pretty easy. But at the same time, every single head shake, every metre of cord they take is lifting them off the bottom. So, and that's exactly where you want your fish. You want them out of the snag. So we fish a pretty heavy fight and drag all the time, you know, set the hooks and dictate the fight, because some of these giant cod, you know, you get up over 1.20 metre, gets its head in the current, they're nearly unstoppable. So, you know, if it comes out, grabs a lure, you set your hook and its head's pointing straight at you and it can't turn, the only way it can go if it wiggles its tail is towards you. So you're halfway there, you know, 3/4.
Have a good drag, set it heavy, and just dictate it.
That's it, mate. Snap the heads off.
Bloody oath. And Dale, prettier reels? Not necessarily.
Excellent. Now let's go on. I was fiddling with my other screen. We don't want to talk about COVID. I'm not going to answer that question. Tyler, young Tyler here. I don't know if Tyler's young. We'll say Tyler's young. Best braid and leader knots or loop knots or clips. What are your suggestions, guys?
Can I go first? Because I'll be quick.
Get on it.
Yeah, mate. Braid to leader, 60-pound leader, 50-pound braid. Whatever knot that you like to use. I like to use an FG knot. Rod likes to use a Bimini twist and a duck's nose. Basically, it depends on the rod that you're using and the size of your runners, and that, whichever knot. And loop knots to basically all my hard body lures, and a simple blood knot to spinnerbaits. That's all you need.
Yeah, no, eye on that one.
Yeah. That's
That was the shortest answer you've had all night, Rod.
Yeah, that's it. That's it.
The only thing with knots is you only need to know a couple of knots, just tie them properly. And while we're not going fishing or sitting at home, practice them. And as far as clips go, you know, I hate to say it, but leave them at the tackle shop.
Yep.
Hey, mate, mustard bring out a pretty good clip.
Yeah, I know, but
yeah, I've seen a few big fish caught on them, actually.
Yeah.
But, Glenn's right. Practice them now while you can. I've been out with heaps of guys who hook big fish, and I hate it when they say the first thing that comes into them, gee, I hope my knots hold. That should be the last thing you should be thinking of. You should be enjoying the fight.
Yeah.
Don't worry about your knots. They should be right.
No, you should be getting up your mate in the boat going, grab the net, bastard.
Yeah.
Now, we had a good question here from Anthony Smith. Now, I'm actually going to award the first prize of the night to Anthony, and it will be
A date with Glenn.
a date with Glenn. We're going to do
I've got a tick.
you got a tick? We've got a full Lake Mulwala Fish Camp Ski cod brag mat, and we've got 2 lots of the Dizzy scent and a set of McGrath lures there. We're going to give this one to Anthony for this question here. If I can bring it up. Ooh, what have I done?
You had it up, mate, I think.
Did I? I pressed the wrong button. There we go.
On bite windows.
Thoughts on bite windows and your biggest influences?
Wind.
Barometric pressure, I reckon, is the real key. When it's going up or coming down fast, going up fast, seem to be your best bite window. Flat, high barrow, yeah, you'll still get fish, but it's not great, especially the longer the high stays flat. Same with low. If it's a slow drop, it's not great. If it's a really rapid drop like storm front, it's brilliant. And same going up the other way. After you've had, a cold front come through and your barrow drops through to 1,003, and then it gets windy before the good weather comes in and shoots straight back up to 1,024. That time when it's shooting up is the best time. That's what we found anyway. So you nearly need to be there before the good weather arrives. That windy bit, which is often still cold and not that flash, seems to be a great bite window.
Yep, excellent.
Full moon, 3 days before the full moon, before the surface, we've found where we do our fishing, seems to be that 3 days running up to it is a good time. And if you fish pool water in the Murray River, which is the big locks, the big slow pool water, an oncoming rise a day before or a day and a half to 2 days before it arrives, the fish knows it's coming. I don't know how they know. It's like pressure, I suppose. They know about barometric pressure. They know about river pressure as well. But you'll go from not catching a fish to getting hit by a big fish on nearly every log when that rise is coming. Once it's gone through, it's finished. And they're your best bite windows that I've found on the Murray anyway.
Excellent. And your biggest influences, guys?
On
actually, who have you followed, or you got anyone that you sort of helped you out along the way?
Oh,
somebody that you look up to apart from each other?
Oh, nice.
Heaps of guys, mate.
Yeah.
I like the older guys. Because they're genuine blokes that have done it for years and years and straight. Like Rod Harris and his writings in the early days.
Awesome.
Amazing stuff. Banjo Patterson. No I. It was a yarn. It's not about Rod. It's about the fishing and the things that go on and then bits of it, it gets back to who it's about, but it's different. It was different. Vic McChrystal.
Yeah, he was awesome. Jack Erskine,
Steve Cooper. All these blokes, and you read their writings, they credit people that helped them. A lot of the new age writers have invented everything. You'll hear no one's name in there except I.
Yeah.
And it's changed. The whole thing's changed. There's no. I loved the story and the romance of fishing. And I read that as a kid, and it's what I wanted to do. Blokes going to Green Cape chasing tuna. It's just something I'd never even thought about, but the stories were so good.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just about the gear and the lure and the rigs. It was about the bite and the time they spent and the camaraderie and all that sort of stuff. I think we've lost that a little bit.
Oh, we definitely have, and that is one of the downsides of social media. There's plenty of upsides, but one of the downsides is the eye, and not the story needs to be a whole, and it's about the trip, it's about the journey, it's about everything within that story. Funny, I was watching during the week, as we all are. We're probably all watching old videos and whatnot, and ABT shared an old. I think it was a Bass Grand Final. It might have even been an electric one. And they were talking about using Halco twisties and whatnot, and it was 15 years old. Yeah. 2 years ago, it's all these riders are out there saying, "Oh yeah, these new things, using these tuna lures for bass." I mean, it has changed, and if you go back and read those older articles, they're just so amazing. Yeah, they take you on the journey with them.
And that's it. Yeah, I think that's what fishing should be. It is a journey. It's exciting. It's from the time you pack your boat until you get home. It's the whole package. It's that's what we love about it. It's not just the fish. It's everything.
Well, go on, Glenn.
I was just going to say I've sort of been lucky. I've been to fishing with Buglugs, who I think is pretty awesome, and also blokes like John Schofield, Paul Dolan, Lindsay Doe, all those sorts of guys who are in the same sort of era, like Jack Erskine and that sort of thing. They don't big know themselves. They just go fishing. And when you're with them, they sort of ask them questions of the fish, like, why did you do that? Why were you there? All that sort of thing. And it's just fantastic to actually be around those sorts of people. And it does rub off on you over time. So, yeah, those sorts of guys are really handy to be around.
Yeah. Yeah, and they've put the hard yards in. I've said this a lot of times, and I say it to a few of the guides, and I know Josh Usher's on here watching, and Matty Langford's on here watching, and these guys are guides, and they, should I put my price up this year? And I said, well, what price do you put on that 20 years of experience that you're giving guys for free? I said, the easiest way to learn anything is pay for a charter, and you're getting 20 years of experience, aren't you?
Yeah.
That's it, mate. And it does take, like, I've been doing it for more than 20 years and I'm learning all the time. And it's, you get these fellas, like I said, they've caught 3 cod and, they're doing seminars and, punching out giant magazines. And you think, well, gee, really? You know?
Yeah.
You just started 12 months ago and you lucked on to 3 good ones. Well,
Well, this leads us into another question, another good question Nick Brown has asked. We've got, how did you guys first meet up and where did your fishing relationship start?
Moala, mate.
Yeah, I think it was. About 2004.
Yeah, we met at Moala. Glenn was there building some boats there.
Yeah, definitely.
And it just rolled on from there, didn't it?
Oh, a mate of both of us sort of introduced us. Hodgie introduced us. And then we went for a fish on the Murrumbidgee. Yeah, which opened my eyes up into really big cod fishing, which, it's probably the tallest I've ever been.
It was, mate. He was standing between me and Hodgie, and Hodgie got hit on a surface lure about 4 foot from the boat. And Glenn nearly left the boat.
Yeah, exactly. It just exploded and, just went the whole lot. And I turned to both of them and I said, how in the effing hell long has this been going on for? And then that's when my whole focus with a lot of stuff just completely changed.
Yeah, because, you've got footage for a long way back, right? And you did a lot of footage before people even knew what footage was. But I know there's some very special camera angles in some of that footage. In this day and age, everyone's looking to try and steal everyone else's spots and not go out and learn it themselves. But basically, you fish from one end of the Murray River to the other, haven't you?
Pretty much, mate. I haven't gone right up the top end. I haven't needed to. I've always had good fish within, reasonable distance of me, but I still like to explore things. It's like I said about different techniques, moving from one to another. It's nice to look at different water and different locations. And I was lucky enough, like I said, to do it in a time when not a lot of people were doing it. So it was sort of free reign for me to learn and catch fish, So, I reckon, I don't know, Glenn, whether you agree, but I reckon we've probably seen some of the best of Murray cod fishing.
Well, mate, we've seen some awesome fishing.
And it's challenged.
We were talking to Corey about that one trip we had with Hodgie when we went down south.
Yeah.
Over 600 pound cod landed in a 4-day stint.
600 pounder?
No, 600 pound cod.
Yeah, no, I heard you, mate. I heard you.
Yeah.
And that's what we said.
That sort of stuff was phenomenal. And, I hope we get to see it again. I don't know if we will or not.
Yeah, probably not, mate. I can't see it. The way our rivers are, the way everything's moving, everything's changing so quickly. Our rivers are changing, water being sucked up and stuff. I think we're living in a different world now. It's all about money, and I think the environment's going to take a backseat to the whole thing.
I think so. I hate to say it.
Yeah, look, I totally agree. There's a whole different ball game we could talk about tonight in poor mismanagement from governments and whatnot. But we'll try and leave that alone. But that leads into there's been a half a dozen people asked throughout the night about favourite moments and magical moments, and what's the biggest cod you've seen caught, and what's the biggest cod you've caught?
You want to go there, Glenn?
Oh, well, I don't know. Mine's probably about a 30-centimetre one, and I'll leave it at that.
Well, you're too modest, mate.
Yeah, but yeah, my biggest one's still swimming, and that was in that session where we boated. I was actually privy to seeing those 600-pound cod in that week. That was just fantastic, and they were just on the chew. Everything was just going right. I dropped mine. But, yeah, the biggest cod I've ever seen was the biggest fellow Rod's caught. That was just enormous. Absolutely huge.
Yeah, no, and I have no doubt there's a lot bigger fish there. We've had a few on that, pulled the pants down, smacked your bottom and just taking your lure, like it's – how do you stop that, So –
we actually had one that Hodge caught. The two of us were holding it. It wasn't until we got the film on the camera, on the TV, that we realised there was a bite mark in the back of a 100-pounder.
And a fair bite mark. It looked like Jaws had a crack at him. Like the big round.
Yeah.
Let's say it had been bitten by one. And that's a 100-pound fish that's been bitten by another fish. Well, I'd imagine it was probably as big, if not bigger, to be wrestling with it.
Yeah.
That's unreal. So 1.55 is your biggest to answer the question, isn't it?
Yeah.
So and when you talk cod, I mean, it's once they get up to that metre mark, every sort of centimetre from there on just changes the fish, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's it, mate. This wasn't a super fat fish. It was more a long fish, but it was still, when you're getting towards that size, it's still very heavy for the length. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That day, that was the day we got the 7 over a metre before 11 o'clock, and me and Gus, we always had, regardless of where we fished or what we done, it was a $5 bet. As soon as your boot hit the floor of the boat, it's on. And always for the biggest fish. And he actually caught one 146 centimetres, and I give him the $5 because it was as round as it was long. It was just looked like a big bullfrog, and I just, look at it. I don't know how heavy it was. It was just crazy. And it was blind. It was actually blind. It had like cataracts, wide eyes,
Yeah,
it still managed to swallow the spinnerbait. So
and that's it. That we don't really take into account how sensitive they are through that lateral line, do we?
No, and that fish wasn't missing out. You only had to look at it. It was just like a big bullfrog. It was round nearly. So I saw it.
Nearly as round as Rod.
Are you sideways or standing up, mate?
Yeah, shut up.
All right, so I am going back through trying to pick out a winner for the name of this spinnerbait. Has anything stood out to you guys? I know you can see a lot of them on the.
Not really, mate. I've lost them.
Yeah, I can't go back far enough to go back to some of them. What we might do, Glenn, is we'll talk after the show, and we'll do an announcement on who wins the actual. The spinnerbait, because we'll go back and have a good look through them all. My feed is only sort of keeping about 25 questions, so it was very hard to keep up to them.
Where did you get it right? No, sorry, Mick, not telling you.
No, Mick, I could tell you where I got it. A third of the way out.
Out on Langer's property.
No, I got it a third of the way out, a metre off the bottom.
Excellent. So we'll go through. Got to give away a couple more prizes. Is there any questions that stood out for you guys tonight? That stood out as good questions, other than normal questions that you would have gone on the talk show host and whatnot. I think there was a few guys. Tyler Booth with the best sprayed and leaders.
Yeah, I like the bite windows. That was pretty cool. The trialling distances, like a lot of people don't think about that.
Yeah.
How far back do you throw it? That's just, it's the same. Like I said, it depends on lure depth and water depth. So that was a pretty good question. A lot of people don't know how far back to throw it.
One thing nobody has asked, as an actual retrieve speed for reels, for spinnerbaits. Now, I'll turn around and tell them now the lowest retrieve speed reel you can get, like a crazy cranker. I like the old Abus, anything like that. Low retrieve speed is the best you can do, especially for cod spinnerbaits and even for bass stuff.
So you're talking that 5.5 to 1.
Yeah, even 4.9 if you can jump into that. But
So you can find it.
yeah, if you can find it, but that low retrieve speed is the best way to go.
Yeah.
Keep it in front of their face all the time. Don't get talked into high speed reels because you're just not going to be able to wind it slow enough.
And you do fight. You can, but you fight with your hand. Your hand and your brain fight because you get used to a wind speed.
Yeah.
And you find, and I've seen it, you'll do 2 casts to someone with a low ratio reel. You'll end up doing 1.5 to 2 casts, even though you think you're going slow, you're not.
Yeah.
You're not going as slow as someone else is.
Yeah.
Especially for spinnerbaits. Hard bodies, I don't mind a little bit of speed on hard bodies. I think in hard fish water, it gives the fish less time to look at it.
Yeah.
So it's a bit like a slips catch. They either want it or they don't.
Yeah, true. You
And
can do that with spinnerbaits too, but not for cod fishing. Not
No.
really.
No, I like the slow.
Keep it in their face. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, I'm going to. Mick Johnson just put on there. He thinks his question should win a prize. Actually, Nick Brown, I'm gonna give one of you a prize for Nick. So what I'm going to do.
I'll slip out this side.
Hey, I'm just going to slip out this so I can get a beer.
Yep, you do that. Well, I'll give away this. Nick Brown. So what you need to do, Nick, is contact me through my Facebook page and I will send these out to you. But you've got one of the custom lures that Ricky Goward donated last week. Beautiful paint jobs on them. You got the Dizzy Sense and one lure wallet, which is new this week. So I will give you all of those and send that out to you. Put that over there. And we'll give a couple more prizes away while I can think of it.
Great question here from Lloyd Brown. How do I stop my wife from stealing my spinnerbaits?
Yes, Lloyd.
Lloyd, if she's anything like my wife, hide them in your underpants, brother. she'll never find them.
All right, so we'll give Lloydie a prize.
I'm back.
We're still trying to pick winners there, Glenn.
What's that?
I'm going to give.
What's the best way to store spinnerbaits? If you're talking to Rod, it'd be steal Glenn's box.
Yeah, no, that sounds about fair.
Yeah. Definitely try and keep them dry. I do have spinnerbait wallets and I do have spinnerbait boxes, but there's bugger all tackle companies now that make spinnerbait boxes with any depth in them to hold them, so they're fully rigged like these fellas are.
Yeah,
there's not many of them around. They're really hard to find.
Yeah, really hard to find anything for the 4x4s with the when you can fold the twins away. Sometimes you can get them into a box. Yeah, definitely. So Lloyd, I'm going to give you the we've got the live target, cod bait, Dizzy Sense. So that'll be for you, Lloyd. I'll send that out this week. We've got to give a postcode prize away. I'll just go back through that. Corey Ryan from Leeton. I think we're going to give that one too.
Spinnerbait wallet. Have I got one in there?
So, Corey, if you can get on to me through my Facebook page, send me your address, and you win the $50 gift voucher from Lee Martin Marine down here. So you'll be able to give them guys a call, and they will be able to post you out something and one of the custom Ricky Goward lures as well. So you're the winner of that prize. Post them out this week. think that's 3 or 4 of my prizes. Glenn, what we'll do with yours is I'll go back and we'll look through all of the names and we'll announce the name of that special spinnerbait and we'll give them a run and talk about it next week's show.
No worries, mate.
All right, we've got another question here from Tim Page. His thoughts of fishing 40-plus foot of water for cod.
Tim's from Mildura, I reckon. There's a couple of holes. There's a big hole down near Morna Station, if it's the same Tim I'm thinking of. And everyone wants to fish this hole down there. I've had a few blokes ask me about, we need the lures to get down to 40 foot. I don't believe I've ever caught a fish probably over 30-odd feet. Ever. You might come off the edge of a lip that goes into a 40-foot hole, but I'll guarantee you that cod you're catching is just sitting over the edge of that lip. Might be a metre or two down, but I've never caught one in 40 foot of water, and I've got plenty of lures that make it or get close to it. I think probably you'll catch more fish between 5 and 8 metres than you will out of 12 and 13 metres. So I don't know. Maybe you'll get one, but I think I'll be searching the water that's got more fish in it than that real super deep stuff. I haven't even marked any really on the sounder in that deep stuff. So
most of the time you'll see them in a thermocline.
And that's usually well up. That's well up from the bottom usually.
Yeah, exactly.
So looking at that thermocline.
Yeah, no, I've had a lot of. I don't know whether that's where Tim's looking to fish, but I just haven't caught them in that sort of depths. I've got lures that get you put a 10-metre lure on at full depth. It seems a lot of the time I think it's swimming under the fish. I've got a few mates that used to pop up our way and fish a bit, and they like to fish that deep stuff. They never caught many fish while they were with us. We seem to catch a lot more fish swimming higher, in shallower water. So
especially around that 15 foot to 20 mark.
Yeah, that's about most of it. 20, 24.
Excellent. The Lady Gaga, the Kryptonite. We've still got names coming in. And still feed them in, guys. Even if it's after the show, feed those names in. We'll award that during the week sometime. We've pretty much, I suppose, with two elderly gentlemen like yourself, I probably should really start to cut it off here and let you.
Come on, just one more.
Elderly gentlemen.
Elderly gentlemen. Mate.
All right, we'll have one more night.
Just one more.
There's a good question here from April Hanley. I think, any tips on keeping kids interested in fishing for more than 5 minutes? Right. April, I would say don't fish for Murray cod to start with, because they're not an easy fish to catch. But redfin, anything small doesn't matter for kids, even catching bait, yabbies, shrimps. I used to take my young bloke up the river and give him a shrimp net, and it was the greatest time in the world, pulling the shrimp net up and getting all the shrimps out. Depending where if you live near the coast, and you can pump yabbies or worms or roll over rocks and pick up crabs, not the ones with claws and stuff, but just stuff that's easy to catch. Mullet, whiting, brim, just anything easy. But cod fishing, gee, it's pretty hard work for kids. I guess that's a one bonus of carp, if there ever was a bonus. When they're about and plentiful, they're pretty easy to catch, and they're a good learning tool for kids. My young bloke used to rip through some absolute monsters back in the day, and it taught him how to use a drag and how to set a hook and how to fight a fish. So, but I just keep them entertained, April. Don't take them trolling for big cod. No. They'll hate you.
Exactly.
That is a great question, that one.
Yeah.
I think that actually deserves a prize. I'm going to dig into the prize box.
Yeah, certainly. Got a mum that's worried about her kids fishing.
Corey.
Yeah.
Mate, I'll throw them a couple, especially for kids. White DT and the black and purple half-ounce codman.
All right, excellent, April. If you can get a hold of me through my Facebook page, give me your details. I will forward them on to Glenn to make sure you get that prize, because kids are really important with fishing, and you've really got to, make sure you keep them entertained in some way, shape, or form. I know my son loves coming fishing with me when I fish off the bank, because it gives him other stuff to do. He goes and makes cubby huts, or he carves his name into the tree, or goes and collects the firewood or whatever it is. He loves craying. We go down and do a bit of cray, Murray craying every season, and he absolutely loves that. But if I get him out in the boat fishing and fish for long hours, fishing for cod, it just goes insane for him. And, he can dip back to the campsite and get the iPad out and watch a movie if he needs to. So it is important to take your kids fishing because they're the next generation.
They are, mate. I used to love that at the Cod Classic. They'd come up to you with $5 to buy a spinnerbait. You'd build something up for them, and then you just tell them, you'd make sure it'd catch them a fish, and you just tell them how to use it and tell them not to let their parents have it. And then they'd come in the next day and they'd caught a 40-centimetre cod or caught a small yellow, but it just didn't matter. That's just what it's all about. It just makes you dumb.
Yeah. And that is the Cod Classic's a great one for that because it is such a big crowd. Nagambi, that new Lake Nagambi one's good as well because they give away so many prizes for the kids, and it's not just all about the fishing. They've got all the other stuff there, jumping castles and whatnot to keep the kids entertained. It's really good fun.
Yeah. Hey, Rob, what's your favourite?
Some of the questions are coming through. I've refused to put them across because obviously
good on you, Pip.
Obviously they're a bit of a G-up.
I obviously didn't see the Pip one.
Yeah. Lamb chops.
He wants to know what your favourite meal to cook on the river is, Rod.
Lamb chops.
Lamb chops, is it?
Yeah.
Or sausages.
Oh, hey, Rod, Drunky stew. I like drunky stew. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it wouldn't be anything Glenn cooks, I can tell you, because he only points when you go up the river.
Oh, really?
He's actually got a pointer stick. You want a fire, he points where the wood is, and then he points to where it's got to go and get caught on fire. It's like, anyone feel like something to eat? He points towards the barbecue and then points at the esky. So he does nothing but point. He thinks he's at work with his workers.
You know why this is?
In fact, the last bit all around pointer.
As soon as you go to put the pan on, he goes, "You're not doing that right. You're not doing that right." I wish Donna would walk in the back behind Rod and talk to us. Yeah, you're not doing that right.
No, she doesn't want to get anyone into trouble. Listen, we will we'll continue this for as long as I need to, I suppose. We don't have to cut anyone off. I think we've still got nearly 80 people online watching at the moment. So I've obviously been entertaining enough to keep 80 people entertained for a couple of hours. It's really good. I just wanted to, we've got a little bit of a pause. There's some more questions are coming through. There was questions of spinnerbaits, colours and whatnot. I know, Glenn, spinnerbait colours is not as important as what you're talking about, blades and everything else. But for those that want to know, that's my whaler favourite, that one there.
With the gold blade? With
the gold blade, yep.
Yeah. Yeah. Look, it just depends on water clarity. Blade colour does mean a lot. The basic rules is clear water silver blade, dirty water gold blade. If it's really, really gin clear or extremely heavy fished, a black blade, and Rod had mentioned that earlier. Now, if you've got water that has a real algae tinge to it, copper blades do work really well. So they're 4 basic rules of thumb. And then one of the standout ones probably in the last 5 or 6 years has actually been the orange blades, especially in really khaki water. And, it's just, blown us both away at how well it had performed for us. Because me and Rod turned the water to foam one day while Jock was filming, and then Jock picked up an orange bladed one, and he ended up smashing 3 cod in an 8-hour session, but me and Rod did not even get a hit. And he probably fished that spinnerbait for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
So there is point in times for special blade colours, even in cod fishing and bass fishing.
Oh, definitely. I've found that definitely in bass and yellow belly fishing. Good question here from Johnny. He's what leader length do you guys suggest? And do you find that cod get leader shy?
Nah.
No. And
they're too big a predatory fish. They don't give a rat's ass about leader.
you just don't have it go on your reel. You know, you're putting a 60-pound leader knot through the level wind onto your reel. It'll punch your level wind out.
Yeah.
If it doesn't do that, it's pretty hard work on the actual knot going back and forth onto the reel and your thumb.
Yeah.
So I just have it so it falls a couple of inches short of the reel. You wind it, you lure your rod tip, and you should have a couple of inches short of the reel.
Exactly.
And I've been known to have leader knots where I've
don't even go there.
just enough to tie the loop, not to tie the lure on. That's when you get lazy, of course, Corey. That's
Yeah, no, I've been known for that too. I actually like to stir because I fish a lot of teams events with Matty Langford. I like to actually leave my tag on my lure and normally leave it about an inch, and it drives him absolutely batty. He actually comes down to the back of the boat and cuts the tag end off the.
you know, I think I would too, mate.
We're not worried about the length of the leader. I'm sure a 1-inch tag not going to make a difference.
No, not for cod fishing.
Yeah, that's another question here. I've lost it now. So what about yellow blades? Bo's talking about yellow blades.
Sort of. It's still probably more dirty water. They just cause more of a presence. So if you actually see something that probably comes into lure color with that sort of thing, something that's like bright fluoros or like the bright oranges, especially in dirty water, when you actually see it in the water, it gives a real halo around it. So it actually gives an effect of a lure. So in dirty water, if you want to you can put the lure in and see for yourself. It actually attracts a lot more light, and it just does look a lot bigger in the water. So, yeah, any of that sort of stuff that just makes it nice and bright in coloured water.
Excellent. Another question. I've already popped it up on the screen. Do bigger lures catch bigger fish?
Yep. Simple as that. They do. You'll catch big fish on small lures, and, you know, every now and again someone bumps into a giant cod on a little tiny lure. But I'll tell you, you'll catch a lot more big fish on big lures. So I know when I started, I was catching big fish on small lures. Now, I remember I used to have a favourite trial run from the Robinvale Bridge to the Euston Weir. I knew every rock bar and lump and spot where the cod were, and I'd troll downstream with Predatech boomerangs and all sorts of things. If I got all the way down and didn't get a hit, I would tie on the biggest lures I had and troll back. And very rarely did I get back and not get hit.
Yeah.
So, certainly I noticed it straight away. Just, you know, great big timber prototypes that looked like they'd been hewn from the end of a strainer post. They were that big. You had to steal the missus's Tupperware box to keep them in, you know. I'd put one in the holder and hang on to one and troll back. And, very rarely did I get back without getting smashed, and it was nearly always the big fish. So, there's no worries. Big stuff. Big stuff.
On the other side of that, if you're casting, it's got to be something you can control while you're casting. Trawling is a bit different. If you're casting it, a big lure that you can actually control and present in the right spot and present it well is ideal. But, you know, some of the guys are starting to go really huge, and you just can't present it in the right sort of spot.
Yeah, and you were talking about noise before, Rod. I know that, you know, with those big swim baits, you know, they're making one hell of a noise when they're hitting the water to start with. You know, it might resemble a duck falling out of a tree, but, you know, whatever. But I suppose we haven't had the technology in the rods up until now. I know that, you know, these newer rods, we can actually throw those bigger lures. But, you know, even 12 months ago, we would struggle to find a rod that we could actually cast a big lure with.
Oh, that's it, mate. We really have come a long way there. Like the Venom range, I've been using them for a few seasons now, and they're swim bait rods. You can cast a house brick on them. You know, there's very few lures out there that you won't cast on that sort of stuff, and it's it's really changed the way that we fish and how big lures we can fish. Like back when I first started casting big lures, it was hard work. You know, if you want to go out and present big lures all day, it's very taxing on the body if you haven't got the right equipment to biff it with. You know, but like I said, with the Venom rods that I've been using, you come off the water at the end of the day. I'm getting older; it's getting harder. But I still come off in not too bad a condition, you know, and I can present some of these bigger lures at distance to the snags. Whereas with the old equipment, I'd have had to move the boat a lot closer for sure. And I probably would have went halfway through the day, go, bugger this, let's go trolling, you know.
Yeah.
So it has changed. It certainly has changed, you know.
Even the reels have come up really well. That you know you've got a lot more power in those smaller reels. I mean, we used to have to chuck these dirty big reels on dirty big rods to manage those. You know, and the reel sizes have got down, but the gears have got a lot stronger.
Yeah, that's it, mate.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's a lot of blokes worry about line capacities on reels and that sort of stuff. Or if you can hold 100 yards of cord, 50-pound braid, you're never going to get done by a cod ever.
Yeah.
So you don't need these big reels. If you want to go and chase barra with them as well, I suppose you might be looking a little bit bigger spools then, a little bit more holding capacity. But not for cod. They look, if you get a cod pull 10 metres of string off you need to do your drag up a bit. And if you fight it for any more than about 5 minutes, you need to do your drag up a bit.
Yeah,
exactly.
And lift and wind. I see a lot of videos where blokes do 3 laps of the boat while the rod's bent and they're not winding. It's like, here's an idea. How about you lift it and wind it? Because it will come up. It will come up, you know.
I think some of them need to go to the gym a bit more.
Yeah, but it's far better for the fish if you actually wind it in and just follow it around in a circle for 20 minutes, you know.
Yeah.
I guess for people that have never caught a big one, they might think that that's what they need to do. But seriously, pull the head towards you. Once the head's pointing at you, if they so much as move their tail, they're coming at you.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. If you've got them coming towards you, every wiggle of that tail brings them closer and closer. So, and then once you get them beside the boat, try and keep their head up. And it's all over pretty quick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Got an interesting one here. Yasara, hopefully I've got your name right, talking about how he uses spinnerbaits in the Mediterranean. So we've got an overseas viewer on there saying that he uses spinnerbaits over there in the Mediterranean. There you go.
Oh, wow.
That was interesting. So we're going global. Hey, listen, Glenn, I do have a question. This is your Facebook page.
Yes.
And you can see in the bottom of this screen here, you can see your lovely partner here, Sue, catching a bass just recently.
Yes.
And, all of my mates want to know if that is actually Sue's ass at the top of the screen there. In between the bee and the man.
He's frozen again. Sorry, it's all frozen again.
I'm sorry. I'm not allowed to say nothing. On the grounds that I'll get incriminated.
Now, just on a serious...
I will just leave it at that.
Well, we will leave it at that, but we will mention Bassman Spinnerbaits Official is your Facebook page. So make sure you jump on there, give it a like, and follow Bassman Spinnerbaits because that's what they're all about. Also, your website is bassmanspinnerbaits.com.
Yeah, mate.
Rod, you've got all of your stuff on codmac.com.au.
Yeah, mate.
And your YouTube channel is...
I got no idea. I didn't even know I had one, Corey, until the young bloke told me I had one.
Rod McKenzie. So all you do is look up Rod McKenzie on YouTube. And you'll see plenty of videos, and people were talking, I'll let this one play. Well, it's got no volume, so you're just going to catch, goes for about 2 minutes. You're just going to catch a cod on fly. You just make it look easy.
Oh, yeah. No, I tell you what, make it look like I've got my hands on back to front.
Actually, Actually, he looks like he's trying to kill a brown snake. That's what he's.
Yeah, but like I said, I never got much tutoring for the fly. It was a bit of a learning curve. I've since hooked up with a few good blokes that are happy to share a bit of their knowledge and give me a few tips and stuff, and it's made it a lot easier. I'd love to have what I've got now. Back then when I first started, I would have caught a lot more fish, but in time, when we get let out from lockdown, there's a few places I want to go and a few big fish I want to tangle with on the fly. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it because we haven't had a situation, I suppose, in our lifetimes where the fish have had this much of a rest.
Yeah, other than the close season.
Yeah, but people will still go out there and they'll be targeting other species and whatnot. This is the biggest or probably one of the best things that can happen to our waterways. These fish are really going to get a good rest.
And they're going to bite for that first few days. They're just going to, like it's all. I haven't seen one of these for 3 months. Like they're not going to know. So
They're going to
it's a bit like the cod opening. You generally find that first couple of weeks of the cod opening, a lot of big fish get caught, and then the bite tapers off. You see less and less photos until the change, till the autumn break, which is about now, a little bit earlier, when the temperature starts to drop away. You see a lot of good fish get caught again then. And that's just a rush to feed before things get cold. So,
yeah.
But yeah, no, I'm hearing you, Corey. I think it will be good for the fish. I don't think they hurt. A rest won't hurt them.
No,
it's only hurting us, mate.
Yeah. Trust me. This is hence why I started the show, was just so I could talk to other people about fishing. I hardly get outside. I know I run a caravan park and I can go and mow some lawns and I can do that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But I'm not talking to anyone about fishing when I'm doing that, and it's driving me crazy.
Yeah, and it's hard on the industry too. Like the whole thing, lure shop, tackle shops, bigger companies to supply tackle shops. It's hard on everyone. I guess they deem it necessary, and I suppose if we can get through this and out the other side quickly, it'll be good.
Yeah,
but it is hard.
It is very hard. Now, I don't know what else we've got left to cover. I've gone through a lot of questions.
I've been asking about a spinnerbait wallet.
Yep.
Now, I don't know if you can see it or anything like that. Sort of like a soft plastic wallet. Okay, if that shows up, it's just got sleeves in it. Just make sure your spinnerbait's nice and dry, and it just folds up and it like that. You just pack your spinnerbaits in it, how many you want, and you carry it in your tackle box. So that's what I use if I've got to go down fishing with rod, when I'm not in my own boat or anything like that. So it just makes it easy.
And it's usually empty when he goes home.
Yeah, definitely.
I'll have that. I'll have that too, and I'll have that one as well.
Yeah, that's what it's all about.
He's a generous little fella.
Yeah, bastard.
I love spending his money, I can tell.
Yeah. I hate sponsored anglers. All I do is cost.
Yeah.
They cost everything.
Shortest arms on the shortest bloke I've ever seen.
Oh, how's this?
Oh, how's this question? What a great... Aaron's read our minds from earlier tonight. When are you bringing out another Almighty DVD, Almighty Cod DVD?
How quick would you like to see one?
Mate, I watched Almighty Cod today. It's amazing. You do these things and you watch them and you see them edited, and then you don't look at them again for a few years. I sat down and watched it today, and I giggled my backside off, and it was great to revisit all those fun times. We have a great time making it, and look, some of the action's pretty cool. Like there's a 1.20 meter fish caught by the tail. There's some amazing surface strikes. There's a bit of giggling and carrying on. There's a bit of ass puckering, and there's all sorts of good stuff. So
now, how about we cut to the chase? How about we start telling these people how many days it actually took to film it?
All right. Well, the first video I ever made, which was Cod Almighty, took 5 days. because everyone thinks it takes a season.
Yeah.
It doesn't. The first one took 5 days. Then we went back. Once we got it together and realised it was going to happen and the fish were biting, we went straight back and we spent 7 days there, which we caught 23 or 4 over a metre in 7 days.
Yeah.
We put the second one together and then we built the third one. That took 5 or 6 days.
Yeah, but within that 5 days, just remember we fished a lock that wasn't fishing. We fished for a day and a half for one fish.
Yeah, we didn't move.
And then we moved a lock and then completed the next DVD.
Yeah. And at Almighty Cod, that was 2 trips. It was a couple of days fishing with Glenn. We had a couple of days locked in the cabin drinking beers because it rained.
Yeah.
That wasn't so bad, though, was it really?
No, but we did go.
and it was a couple of days with Norbs.
Yep.
And then the fly fishing one, that was just probably 3 or 4 days as well, just a couple of trips. So if you find the right fish, and I was saying this to Corey the other day, I don't know how many times I've said to myself, we'll never catch 5 over a metre in a day again. But that's just amazing, that'll never happen again. But we've done it again and again and again and again. Yeah. And I think we'll do it again. It's like you find a good spot, you sort of work the fish out, and it happens.
You just go fishing. You expect to get a metre fish every time you go fishing. That's what it is. And you're expecting every time you cast for that metre fish to go bang. Yeah. You're expecting it every cast.
Anyone that is new to casting or just stepping up from trolling, I know it's hard work, and I know fish can be a long time in between casts, but I can guarantee you that you will drop every fish if you're not paying attention. Matty Langford was always on me when we fished teams tournaments that you've got to expect to catch a fish every cast. If you're not expecting it, you will miss that bite that you've just worked 3 hours to get sometimes.
Exactly, mate. And that one bite could be a metre 20. It could be a 60 centimetre cod, but it could be a metre 20, which just makes it true.
Yeah, and make sure you rig for that fish. You always rig for the biggest fish that you think you're going to catch.
Yep.
Yeah. And same with your net. If you've got a butterfly net in your boat, biff it over the side and go and get yourself a proper net. Because when you do there's no reason that a first-time bloke down the river casting lure is not going to connect himself to a 100-pound cod. And I'll tell you what, a 100-pound cod beside the boat is massive.
Yeah.
And when you want to it's got one little treble hanging out the corner of its mouth, and you've only got like, oh, gee, I need to get this fish in now. If you're trying to fit in a net that round, it's not happening. So get yourself a good net.
Yeah, and it does, as you've got a video, a really good video actually you filmed about having everything ready, having it all there, getting it in, looking after the fish and getting it back in the water. We don't need to glorify everything with a million photos of this fish out of the water. It's hard enough catching them. Let's make sure that they live.
That's it. If you've got everything prepared, you just get your snapshots. It doesn't take very long. Tops 5 minutes, Don't roar down the river with it in your boat, show your mates at camp, show them the photos,
Yeah.
Just don't tell them where you caught it.
Yeah.
Tell them to get nicked.
Tell them the day you're leaving.
Yeah.
Well, I do think that we're going to have to get, chewing the fat on the road at one stage, and I think we'll definitely get the cameras down around the campfire, and we'll do this again. We'll sit down and have a chat, but we'll make it a little bit more memorable around the campfire, and I'll edit out all the swearing from my son that keeps telling me off in the comments every time I've sworn tonight.
So you've been swearing?
Yeah, it must have been me. Yeah,
No,
he's telling me off. He's got nothing over you guys, so that's all good.
Mate, we've been quite well behaved, I thought.
No, you've been very well behaved because I know the stories, and I've talked to people that have talked to people, and
mate, that's why we can't get sponsors. There's too many stories from people that don't know people that don't know people.
So you do have a video, and you're talking about how long it took you to film God Almighty, and unless you were there, you wouldn't believe that story's true. But you you were talking about the other day when I was having a quick chat to you, setting this all up, about fisheries made a phone call to you about doing a catch and release and how to release a cod properly. Tell us that story.
Glenn?
Well, this was about 12 months. Was it 12 months ago when we were? Anyway. Yeah, 12 months ago, we're out on the river. We were doing some fishing and that sort of thing, testing some lures out. Fisheries rang Rod. For argument's sake, we'll say Wednesday afternoon. He rings them back Thursday morning to find out what they wanted, and they wanted him to do a catch and release sort of video, how to look after the fish, prepare the net, and do everything properly. So he gets back to him on the Thursday morning. We jumps in the tinny, goes just around the corner, the first snag, bang, bang, gets back to him, rings him up. You know, wouldn't be half an hour, and it's all done and dusted. So, you know, the fisheries guys just went, bullshit, you haven't done that. Cod fishing isn't that easy, but it is if you're in the right spot at the right time.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's amazing. And I mean, you got, as you said earlier, Rod, that, you know, you may have lived through some of the best of the fishing. You know, the kids might not see some of these sessions that you guys have had. You know, I'm hoping my kids do, but, you know, it's been a bit of a, I suppose I listened to all the old stories that my dad told and his dad told. You know, it's been a bit different over the last few years. And we just hope that if we can look after these fish, they will be there for our kids to catch.
Yeah, that's it, mate. We've got slot limits now. That's going to help with a lot of these big fish. And we've got stocking these big impoundments, Eildon and places like that. Like, I still think Eildon's like, there's some nice fish there. You whack another 5-6 years on Eildon and you're probably going to go up there and you get 3 cod for the day, you might get 3 metres.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and there's sort of, it could be a fishery the same as these Queensland impoundment barrows, you know, the barrows in the impoundments, where you go there and you catch meter fish, and they're not that difficult to catch if you're there at the right time doing the right things. And I think there'll be some great impoundment fishing in years to come. It's not quite there yet. I think they probably need to I know they're putting a lot in, but I think they need to put a lot more, especially in Eildon. It's such a big place.
It's a massive waterway.
And it's riddled with predatory fish. So, I don't know, you let 100,000 small ones go in there and they bump into a nest of redfin, well, I'd hate to think how he's going to survive that sort of, you know.
Yeah,
But they are doing all right. There's plenty of fish in there. You, like I said, you chuck another 5, 6, 8 years on it and there'll be a lot of big fish in there. So it's going to be good.
No, I'm hoping it will be.
Well, Rodney, you can go to Eildon, but I'm going up to Langer's place.
Okay. Where's Langer's place, mate?
I'll tell you it later.
Third of the way out.
That's that secret stuff, squirrel stuff.
Yeah, we'll go up to Langer's place. We're going to have yeah.
You're going to teach him how to catch a real cod.
Oh, well, he can only catch tiddlers at the moment.
Hey, guys, it is hit 10 o'clock. We're going to have to pull it up here, guys. Guys and girls and kids are going to have to go to bed very soon. I know I am, but I do thank you guys for your time. Next week, we have got Shane Melrose on from Central Victorian Lure Casters. We're going to talk all things lure casters. And, of course, Shane has one of the new Bass Pro boats as well as I do. So we might talk a little bit about boats next week. In the coming weeks, I've also got Mick Johnson, who was on tonight. He's going to get on and do some stuff about lithium batteries and electrics and whatnot. We're going to do some fishing, but all things covered. Very, very pleased with the content tonight. We didn't swear too much. The story stayed within the realms of the time frame that we had.
Oh, oops.
You guys are dead set, absolute legends of the sport, and I do thank you for everything that you've done for the sport. Guys like us are just coming along and following in the footsteps of people like you. So thank you guys for all the work that you've done.
Oh, mate, thank you. No, we've done nothing. We just had fishing. We're just good mates. Just
That's
like
it. That's
just
it.
like a beer and a can.
We've had a bloody ball doing this.
No.
It's not like it was a job for us. We've had a great time catching
Shush,
fish.
don't tell the tax man.
Oh, no, it's terribly hard. Terribly hard.
No, excellent, guys. Thank you very much. Thanks for everyone for being on. It's been awesome. The crowd has just stayed there all night. They've been glued on all night. I do have to thank everyone for their questions. I will get your prizes out this week. Make sure if you did win a prize to send me a message through my Facebook page so I can get on and send you out that stuff. Listen, I am so stoked with the way everything's gone tonight. I'm going to cut it off there. Thanks for watching Chewing the Fat with the Cap. We shall be back next week, Monday night at 8 p.m. Thank you very much, guys.
Get your finger out of your nose, Glenn.